So basically, because I was in, and it's like the exact same thing. I noticed the patterns now. Like, I didn't want to be with my mom anymore because she was very clearly narcissistic. And, I don't use that word lightly. I don't just say people are narcissistic because I don't like them or we don't agree on something. Like, there's certain traits and they follow you around. If you don't learn your lesson once, if you don't learn it twice, you're going to have to go through, because it's not just my mom, it's not just Trevor. It's been even in my last work environment, which was Tim Hortons. Like I said, y'all are going to get stories. The narcissism was rampant, okay? So I just ran away from home, but like not in a typical sense of like just disappearing in the middle of the night and like running off with my boyfriend who started his own band or whatever. Like, even if that does work out for some people, that's amazing. But like, that's basically like what I did. I just like ran away from home. And I initially got that apartment because I was hoping for my boyfriend at the time, who was Trevor, to move in with me so that we could start our life together, because he was constantly talking about how much he disliked his home life with his mom. But instead of moving in with me, he used me for my space. And then his best friend at the time actually moved in with me because him and his parents never got along. They were constantly fighting. And his best friend was the type, literally the type. He was with somebody, he was with that, oh my goodness, he was with that girl. Do you remember I told you I should have just let her have him because she had a crush on Trevor? She ended up dating this guy. And whenever she would not threaten, whenever she wanted to break up with him because he was toxic as heck, he would then threaten suicide or self-harm. And then he did that with his next girl. Meanwhile, he was cheating on her the whole time. And you know what? I can judge him at this point in my life, but back then I couldn't accurately, because guess what? I was cheating too. And then at some point I was cheating with him. So it was a whole mess. And if you ever watch my videos and you're just like, oh, there's something off about this girl. Yeah, duh. Like, why do you think I'm trying to heal? Why do you think I'm putting, like, I'm not putting myself out here. Sorry, I literally just finished eating. I'm not putting myself out here just so I can be like, oh, here are my confessions. Let me move on and keep doing the BS. Like, no. There gets to a point where you realize that the people who gravitate towards you are counterfeits. And like I said, it's okay to be vulnerable, but you have to be vulnerable with the right people. Otherwise, things get twisted, And this is like me basically screaming into the void. And it's not screaming, I need help. It's letting everybody know that these things happen in real time. And they happen like they play out on the movies, because we're constantly being programmed. And so you need to be careful about the content that you ingest, about the things that you ingest. Because, like, for the last, like, 7 years, it's been, like, people giving me the side eye because, like, I've been drinking excessively to cope. But before that, it was, like, me just being scapegoated because I was the one who was constantly like, hey, something ain't right. And then the more I got talked out of my feelings, like, the more I wanted to numb myself, because I'm like, am I not making sense? Like, you know what I mean? But I was making sense. And there are so many stories. There are so many stories, and you're gonna get them so that you can understand, and you can not even understand me, but so you can understand how these agents operate. You know what I'm thinking, actually? I'm thinking about ordering an Uber because I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. And with this whole journey of cutting down a lot on alcohol, there's a lot of things that have come up. Not just two things, but one of the main things is the sugar cravings. The less I drink, the more sugar I want. And I understand because like there's a lot of sugar in alcohol, even if it like tastes like vodka. There's a lot of sugar in that, you know? And also the money aspect is like I'll be thinking to myself, even last night I was like, because I spent like $28, like at a convenience store, a bag of chips, Tostitos, dips, and a flaky and iced tea is like $28. Whereas like at a grocery store, it might not be that much, like close, but like not that much. But still, if I would have gone to the bar, I probably would have spent like close to $40. You know what I mean? So, I mean, if I already know that I'm going to be tired, like just pushing myself, physically pushing myself, which I'm constantly doing, instead of learning how to rely on the resources that I have around me, then not only am I going to keep burning myself out, but like I keep putting myself in the position where I do want at the end of the night to just like drink so I can fall asleep. Nah, I'm good on all that. You know, the last bridge that I'm burning is with drunkenness. It is so unappealing. It is so embarrassing. It's so shameful. It's so like, it's such BS, you know? Because like even when you look at it, like the fact that marijuana was so like demonized. And I'm not saying, hey, smoke marijuana. Like I used to be like that person, you know what I mean? But the fact that alcohol is so like socialized, and like when you can't regulate when the appropriate time is, especially here in the Western world, because we know how they do in Europe, baby. And like Europeans, they're like on some bullshit, on some stuff about a lot of things, but like in terms of like regulating their alcohol consumption, they've kind of like got it together. So, and it also comes into, I'm ashy, I'm dry. It comes into play with that whole like being overworked, being underpaid, lacking satisfaction in your life, and then just like blowing all your money on consumables, you know, like purses, shoes, alcohol, food, that kind of thing. Like it's so like we are so set up for failure in a lot of ways, and I can only imagine what it's like living in the States as a person who has adult resources, because I only lived in the States until I was like 13, and that was enough for me, you know. The most High has been very generous to me in terms of like making the best out of bad situations. Like oh, oh, this is something that I got on our honeymoon, and on the back of it I wrote this scripture. I don't know if you can see it. Well, I'll just read it. Sorry. And we know that all things work together for them that love Yahuwah, to them who are called according to his purpose. Boom! He's my rock. He's my provider. He does whatever he needs to do in order to get me to the end. And that included sacrificing his only begotten son. Like that's major. So let me not waste this opportunity. All right, y'all. I gotta start packing. And I think I might call an Uber. Let me just look into that. Let me journal, look into that, see how these things go. Bye.